So do I look at this non-verbally, without any conclusion, without previous evaluation. Therefore, am I looking at it completely? And that's where our problem is. If I know how to look at that thing completely, my disharmony, inwardly and outwardly, the contradictory action, inwardly and outwardly, the fragmentation of every kind of action of my life. Do I look at it from the outside, or there is no outsider at all, but only that, which is the fact? When there is only the fact, you have total energy to deal with that fact. Then that fact undergoes a radical change. It is only when you look at the fact, at what is, with a conclusion, with a verbal image, with a prejudice, then you are dissipating energy in contradiction. Whereas if you can look at the fact of what is, then without any contradiction, without any verbal conclusion, then you have tremendous action. There is tremendous energy, which is action, which changes the what is. Have you got it? Huh? Have some of you got it? Thank God. Now you see, sir, which means a man who is seeking, understanding action, does not seek power, right? He needs money, but does not use money to derive pleasure, which is the me that derives pleasure. You understand? And one of our major problems in the world is sex, apparently. What? How am I doing? I don't quite understand, sir. The gentleman wants to know, how is my sex life? Good God. Sir, please don't. I'll tell you later. If I want to tell you, and if it's worthwhile recording what my sex life is or is not. We're concerned with this problem, not somebody's problem, our problem, your problem. Which is, through sex, the constant pursuit of pleasure. And what happens there when that is denied, or when there is an uncertainty, when there is conflict? There is an imbalance, there is neurotic activity, there is inaction goes on. And as this society has made sex as the greatest thing in life, even more than your gods and saviors, you have to answer it, haven't you? Why you, as a human being, have made this such an issue And because you have made this such an issue, it's become a problem. Terrible thing when you get old. You're always seeking, flirting. And so you have to answer, not I. I have no problems about it at all. I don't make it into the most important thing in life. As an escape from myself, or through sex, find something extraordinarily noble, or some extraordinary state of experience. Those are all rather childish, immature. So it is not what my sex life is, but what your life is. Why are you concerned about the speaker? As I said yesterday, the speaker is of not importance at all. What is important is you, your life. So when we give to pleasure the greatest importance in all our directions, and the pursuit of it, you must lead a most extraordinarily unbalanced life, which you do. And this unbalanced life creates the insane society which you have created. So without understanding deeply and going beyond it, because we have based our morality, our virtue, our conduct on pleasure. You may sacrifice. That sacrifice is also a form of pleasure. So you have to see this whole phenomenon not as a fragment, not in one particular direction, but as a whole. And the seeing of the whole is the total action. Have I talked enough? Wait a minute, sir. You see, religion plays a great part in the pursuit of pleasure. I'm sorry I forgot that, to include that. Power, money, sex, and God. Lovely combination, isn't it? Now you laugh at it, sir, but it's quite amusing. Because religions, as they've been organized, offer this. And the highest form of pleasure and the pursuit of it, the discipline, the various sanctions religions have offered, is in the line of this. So, to see all this together, not as a religious life, a political life, a life of a family, life of just earning a job and going off to the beach and lying in the sun. Those are all fragmentary action, but to see this whole phenomena Then if you see it, then you will act from the total perception, the particular. You understand? It's like seeing a map of this country, the total map of this country, all the roads, the villages, the towns. Then you know where you are going, because you have seen the total thing. And a mind that does not see this, but merely concerned with a job, and trying to see how you can live in a society that is so corrupt. He will live, to him it becomes a torture. You know, when I talked so long about this, not only about action, about seeing the totality of life, the total movement of life. And to see that totally, one has also to look at this extraordinary division between the conscious as well as the unconscious. Why we have created that division. Why the analysts have given such extraordinary importance to this division. I know it's very profitable, but why? Why this division? All. So is it possible? And we haven't time now to go into this question of the unconscious and the conscious. Why this division? We have divided the world religiously, politically, bureaucratically, technologically, nationally, religiously. And in ourselves we are fragmented. Surely this fragmentation and this division leads to great insanity, great contradiction in our own lives. And being in contradiction, we are trying to be very sane. Sanity can only come when you have understood, not somebody else helps you to understand. When you have understood yourself, your own contradiction, are aware of it, then out of that awareness comes sanity. And from that sanity, you earn a livelihood. You earn a job, then that sanity, that action will not be complying with a society that is corrupt. You are bringing something incorruptible. That is the first thing to find out for ourselves. And I assure you, we don't want any assurance from the speaker. Sorry. In this, there is great beauty. It is love. Without that, without this quality of beauty, quality of mind, quality of love, your job, your gods, your reformation of bringing about a new society has no meaning. And you are the builder of a new society. Therefore you, as a human being, have to change radically. Now, so perhaps you'd like to ask some questions. Just a minute, sir.
I'm a devotee of Sri Ramana Maharshi, and when he was asked about the significance of Christ in the illumination of St. Paul, he said, illumination is absolute, not associated with form. After St. Paul became self-conscious, he identified the illumination with Christ consciousness. Then Major Chadwick said, but St. Paul was not a lover of Christ. And the Master said, love or hatred is immaterial. The thought of Christ was there.
Sorry to interrupt you. Could you make it brief?
I'd like to
read the question.
I'd like to understand why love or hatred in this situation was immaterial.
Gentleman wants to know, first of all, quoting St. Paul, who apparently had illumination, and that illumination, he said, was absolute. But when he identified himself with something, out of that identification grew hate and love. Why this contradiction? Is that the question, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Look, I know nothing about St. Paul. Do you? What is it? How important is it? What somebody else says, doesn't matter who it is. You know, sirs, this question of authority, which conditions our mind so deeply, is one of the most terrible things on earth. Go to India, there they quote scriptures by the yard. And they say, are you saying this according to the scriptures? Have you read them, or are you sharing with them, and so on? They can't put all that aside and look at their own life. And they're frightened to look at their own life. It's an act of self-deception, an act of escape from themselves. I'm not saying you are doing that, sir. All that I'm saying is there such thing as absolute goodness? Call it by whatever name you like. Enlightenment, truth, the immeasurable, the unnameable, and so on. Is there such thing as total goodness, absolute goodness? You inquire. And if you look to an answer in any of the scripture or any of the philosophers, you're not answering it for yourself, you're answering it according to somebody's explanation. And that becomes so utterly valueless. It isn't vanity that says, I must find out for myself. It is an act of humiliation, of humility, that says, I know nothing. I don't, others may be true, what they have said, but I know nothing. So you abnegate all authority, deny it, and therefore you become extraordinarily humble to find out. And we are afraid to be so open, honest, So we like to be very proud of our knowledge, the depth of our reading. But you may read all the books in the world, but if you yourself have not understood what goodness is, and the flowering of that goodness in your life, what value is it what others say? Yes, sir?
It's been my experience the last year that I found an altogether new and wonderful joy in myself and working with others in a calm pursuit of sex, money, God, power, distribution of it, a fair distribution of all of those things. And I work with people where I see strong and growing elements of rationality, not under irrationality, in some movements that I'm involved with. I see joy and people trying to break out of past rigidities and role play.
So are you saying, sir, that because you are no longer pursuing pleasure, you are in a state with others or with a community of people that you are joyous?
I think I'm joyous because the last year found out that it was okay to calmly pursue pleasure.
Oh, you are saying it's perfectly all right to pursue pleasure. Is that it?
And to work for it.
Yes, sir, yes, sir. I mean, if you and I and a half a dozen people are pursuing pleasure and we all work together for that pleasure, it's lovely. We all get rather delighted with each other and offer joy. But have we gone into this question sufficiently deeply? What is implied in this pursuit? You may pursue pleasure. I'm not saying you should or should not, that's up to you. But what is implied in this?
If we eliminate all external authority, what will keep the world from anarchy?
Wait a minute, sir. I never said exclude all authority. I said, how can you exclude all authority? Outside authority. When you drive on the road, you keep to the right, left side here? Yes. Left side of the road. In Europe, you keep to the right side. There are laws. You have to pay tax on whatever that is. There are laws which you have to obey. But I'm talking of the psychological dependence on authority. Whether the guru or the priest or the analyst or your wife or husband, the authority. Sir, wait a minute, sir. We are asking, I haven't answered the first question, if you don't mind. The gentleman said he finds great pleasure in the pursuing of pleasure, and there's great joy in it. And working together with people, that joy is spreading, is involving, inviting. And we are inquiring into that question. I wonder how we can explain this a little more differently. You know, have you ever considered how pleasure and the pursuit of pleasure divides people? Haven't you considered that? Divides people. That is, you, in your pursuit of pleasure, according to your belief, you believe in some deity, some savior, some guru. In the pursuit of that pleasure, you have your fellow members in that path, in that group. That group is separate from another group which has its own guru, its own leader, its own political boss, and they find pleasure in that. Isn't there a division between these two? The Catholic, completely absorbed in his Catholicism, in his dogma, in his belief, in his savior, in all that, and that group is extraordinarily vital, extraordinarily joyous, and there is the other group who say, look, we don't believe in all that stuff. So there is this division. As there is inwardly, there is division. Because you pursue pleasure consistently, doggedly, and there is always this sense of distrust, anxiety, fear. So all this exists. And you notice also, when you are pursuing pleasure, how self-centered you are. And being self-centered, you collect other people who are also self-centered. Haven't you noticed all these things? So, we are talking of total action, not in a particular society. Total action of a human being, whether he lives in India, in China, in Russia, or in this country. You know, sir, this is a marvelous country. I'm not praising you. America, the country, is a beautiful country. One of the most beautiful countries in the world. And you're destroying it. You have seen those hills, how they are ripping it up? Well, that's up to you. Yes, sir. Just a minute, madam. Yes, sir.
In my life, I've thought about all my friends and what I wanted to do with them. I realized that we were all equal to one another. And I noticed that we always tried to get together and move in a direction where we'd always come closer together. In recent time, we've moved farther apart in career and job and travel. And I said to myself, that's not what I want. And I came up with the idea that if I chose one of my friends to be a number one, the rest of them being number one. And I started to put my attention on him and give him what he wanted on his terms. And he started to give my other friends what they wanted on their terms. And everything would move forward and it would be together. I'm working on that, but I'm curious.
Well, would you kindly make the question brief? So what is the question?
When I used to get closer to my wife and friends, I noticed that I didn't. So I chose one particular friend above all the others and made him number one, and gave him all he wanted, and he in turn gave all the others all they wanted. And working on it, what do you think of this idea?
Have you heard the question? Have you all heard the question? Have I to repeat it? So we're not laughing. This is not. I'm just asking. Have you heard, all of you, the question? Right. I can't get on with my wife and my friends, but I can get on with one person. And that one person helps the others, he gets on with the others. What is the problem in this? I can't get on with my wife. Therefore, I can get on with others. Is that it? Or I have chosen one person with whom I can get on. No, sir, just a minute, let's go at this differently. What is relationship? To be related, what does it mean? Relationship means to be related, to be in contact with. Not only physically, but psychologically, inwardly. Are we related to anybody? Except, of course, father and mother and all the rest of it. I'm not talking about that. But are we related to anybody? Are you related to me and am I related to you? Are you related to your wife, to your father, to your mother, to your friend, to your girl, to your boy? Are you? What does this word relationship mean? Not only to be physically in contact, but also it means much deeper than that, surely. To be related with somebody actually means to be related at all levels of one's being, doesn't it? No? I may be related to my wife. I'm not married. I may be related to my wife physically. Or I may be not related intellectually, spiritually, if I can use that word. I may not be related to her at all, except physically. Is that relationship? I spend a great part of my life in an office, in a factory, and come home with my own ambitions, griefs, insults, all the agonies, pains, and have I related to my wife? So relationship means, doesn't it, to be related totally, completely, at all levels of one's being, physically, emotionally, intellectually, subtly, the whole thing. That means love, doesn't it? When there is love, you are related at all levels, at the same time, but with the same intensity. But we are not, unfortunately. We have images which intervene, which divide, which make us fragmented. And this is what we call relationship. See, again, we go superficially, try to solve our problems superficially. When the problem is so very deep, and we don't take trouble, we don't give thought, inquiry into this question deeply. We are satisfied by some superficial answer. If I want to live in relationship with somebody, I must be without any image about myself or about that person. There must be no barrier. Of course, you listen to this. You feel it for the moment, verbally. But you go away and you fall back into the old trap. So what is important is to see if you are actually in daily life related. so that you have no barrier, no resistance. And when there is no resistance, no barrier, no division, then there is no conflict, both with that person or within yourself. That is the beauty of relations. That's the beauty of living together in a commune or in a family or in a community. Yes, madam.
I wonder if you could clarify that experience. I have for the past few years learned great deal by getting in touch with where I am and society has me on. And I find that the same thing has been started by the organization for millions of that was consciously trying to raise the consciousness of women.
I understand, madam. I'm working for the women's liberation, and we're trying to raise women's consciousness to a higher level. What do you say about it? You know, first of all, have the men raised their consciousness to such level that women also have to reach that level? Are men so astonishingly superior because they're technologically capable, going to the factory, inventing, engineering, you know, all the things that men are doing, most appalling things and marvelous things, killing each other? And their consciousness is so noble, and you want to raise yours to their level? I'm questioning the whole thing. Whether you, wait a minute, sir, don't, please, I'm not a politician. I don't want your encouragement. Or I don't, as I said the other day or yesterday, please clap when the speaker is not here. Look, sir, do you know what to raise consciousness, what it means? You see, you use that phrase. What does it mean? Who is to raise consciousness? What is consciousness? What is your consciousness? As a woman live or act, being a simple woman living in an unfortunate world, what is your consciousness which you are going to raise to a higher level? What is your consciousness? Your consciousness is what it contains, isn't it? No? My consciousness is the content which exists in that consciousness. My greed, envy, ambition, my nationality, my fears, my guilt, my pursuit of pleasure, you follow a dozen things. That is, makes my consciousness, doesn't it? Right? Now, who is going to raise that consciousness? Another part of me who is equally stupid or equally cunning, raise that to what? You follow? What are you all doing, for God's sake, when you talk raising consciousness? What do you mean by raising your own consciousness? What are you? You're a woman? Because you've got a physical, you're a woman, and therefore you want to raise your consciousness differently? So do look at it. Please don't answer me. Do look at it, for God's sake. What a mess we are making of this world. You, a woman, or a man. Women have been ill-treated thousands of years. Go to the East, you'll know it much more than you do here. You're just playing with words. You go to India, go to Asia, the Arab world. The woman is kept, I won't go into all that. The women there are treated as chattel, slaves. Here, you're fortunately different. And you want equal rights, equal pay, and all the rest of it, as the men have. All right, you'll have it. You're struggling, fighting, propagandizing, raising your standards to that level. All right, then what? That's not the point.
That women, in addition to being enslaved, they are also being trained not to be aware of themselves.
But, madam, that's it.
Serve others.
Wait a minute. She's saying, they're not aware of themselves. Yesterday morning and today I've talked about being aware of yourself. Not as a woman or a man. Be aware of yourself. Why don't you? Fear. All right. Then be aware of that fear. You see? Now just a minute, madam. Look, listen to me. 2 minutes. Look, I am aware as a man. God, I am not. Sorry. I am aware. I am aware of my reactions, of my thoughts, my attitude towards a woman or a man, another fellow being, another human being. I am aware how I look at them, how I treat them. I am aware of this division, if there is a division between me and another. And in that awareness, there is a disappearing of all division. Then I'm totally a human being. Then, in that awareness, I find out various forms of fear, anxiety. I face them, I understand them, I look at them. They are facts. And go beyond is to be human. When you are human, you are not a woman or a man. We are human beings living together. You see, sirs, please do listen to something. Don't, please, if I may suggest, most hesitantly, don't become superficial. Don't live on a verbal level. Don't live with slogans. Go deeply into yourself and find out if you are raising your consciousness as a human being. Then you have to understand what that consciousness is. How man has ill-treated women, and how women also have ill-treated men. Look at the whole picture, not only in this country, but the rest of the world. You are part of the world. We have made this world. And you kind of separate yourself into a little corner called America and try to solve it. It's a world problem, this problem of human relationship. And if you don't solve it, now, today, not in some future, you're going to create such havoc in the world.